All right, let's me actually make me double check here because sometimes it doesn't register. There we go. All right, hello everyone. This is Crowded now giving you game 2 here on Cloud Kingdom between Thorzain and Liquid Ret. Or let me make this straight. EG's Thorzain, sponsored by, was it Raid Call? Versus Liquid Ret here on Cloud Kingdom. Liquid Ret is spawning as the blue Zerg on the top right hand side of the map. Meanwhile, Thorzain is spawning as the red Terran on the bottom left. This is once again from the group stages of Dreamhack Winter Edition 2012. Now, game 1, we saw Thorzain open up with a very risky 2 racks pressure that Liquid Red was able to hold off pretty easily. Now, Daybreak is known as more of a Zerg favored map, which is perhaps the reason why Thorzain did opt to go for that proxy 2 racks pressure. The question is, will he be doing that again? I do not believe so. And the follow-up question to that will be, is he then perhaps going for a fast command center? 15 or 16 command center, not out of the question here. Liquid Red did go for that faster hatchery in game 1 on Daybreak, and will he be repeating that? Now, both sides perhaps will be playing a more of an economic game this time around, and Thorzain is going to be making his way down with this SCV, going to be harvesting a little bit of minerals, and then making his way to set up that command center there. Meanwhile, we already see that Liquid Red is already one step ahead, also sitting at 16/18 supply, the benefit of Zerg. As those larvae do spawn, he is able to train up more and more. Now, let's take a look at the overall strategies, their positions, and what we might see in a game like this. There is this giant dead space here that Zerg players utilize in order to figure out what his opponent is going. Liquid Red, as soon as he spots this command center, may try to go for either a hatchery here, or he may try to build a macro hatch inside. Both of those are viable options, since Liquid Red knows that this is generally going to be a longer game. Or he can do a complete head fake and then run off of 2 bases, get somewhere around 24 to 26 drones, and then go for a 2-base roach pressure. Now, the problem will be Thorzain most likely will be walling off here, or at least getting a bunker or 2 to play very, very defensively, as Thorzain should also be setting up an additional command center here for those extra SCVs, and then perhaps eventually lifting off and landing into this position. Now, scouting SCV does take a look around. So far, both sides pretty much have a very, very good grasp of the situation, knowing that they're not going to be taken out anytime soon. Zerglings chasing after an SCV. That SCV does have a good bit of a head start, should not get taken out at all, as we are now looking into a double queen build. So Liquid Red will perhaps be running on 4 queens. 4 queens is going to be that defensive line. Thorzain may be setting up a reactor here. This is going to be a reactor Hellion pressure, but Red should be able to respond with these 2 queens here on the low ground. And as soon as these creep tumors are laid down, even though there is no gas yet, those Zerglings will still be able to move relatively quickly. Now, it's going to be about another, I believe, 50 seconds before we do see any Hellions come into play. Meanwhile, we are still harvesting double gas here at the main base, and I believe Thorzain actually hitting perhaps a bit of diminishing returns here. Not quite. So about 16 harvesters in his main. Is he going to be transferring some over to his natural as well? No, he is not. And now we see a suiciding overlord making its way in once more. Now, Liquid Red is establishing up this hatchery at about the 6-minute mark. Very common for a Zerg player when facing a Terran player to establish this hatchery at the 6-minute mark. You always want to make sure that there isn't any proxy barracks or anything too out of the ordinary. Also, you want to make sure that you're not trying to expand too quickly. Liquid Red, now starting to get diminishing returns on his bases, takes this opportunity to establish up another hatchery here, as we are now transitioning into Banshees. So this is a very old school style play. Double Hellions into Banshees. The non-cloaked variety, surprisingly. So non-cloaked Banshees moving out. Nope. Cloaking research now being added, and I don't know if I quite agree with that. that research doesn't really need to get done. Ret is more than likely going to have evolution chambers down by the time, or evolution chambers with spore colonies down by the time the second Banshee does arrive. The cloaking field still about another 80 seconds away. May be a loss of resources there, as we are finishing up this hatchery here at the third. Queens are trying to make that slow walk over there. You'll see some additional creep tumors now being placed down. There you go. The hatchery is getting torched. However, Hellions only deal 7 damage per attack, but then again, that damage will start to add up. Queens now making their way over the Hellions, getting in a little bit of flaming action there, as they are going to be able to retreat without sustaining much damage at all. Now let's take a look at the creep tumors placed down by Ret. Ret has very good knowledge, and oh, it looks like 2 creep tumors taken out before they were canceled in time. So Thorzain unable to do much about that there. We do see 1 Banshee in the air, and there you go. Spore crawlers now being added, and that cloaking field not going to be able to do that much. Overseer should be coming online in the next minute or so, as we do see the spore crawler is there, and now the damage is being dealt. Oh, very nicely done by Thorzain, trying to go after the higher hit point queen. The higher energy queen, as there you go, the cloaking research has been completed, and now, oh, are we going to see a transfusion? No transfusion coming in from Ret. A bit of a mistake there, and this may actually cost him. Second Banshee now comes in and joins in on the fight. There goes another queen, and with only 1 queen to defend at this natural, this is going to be a lot of damage. Zerglings now trying to come in for a possible flank. The Hellions are there to get in the way of those queens and those Zerglings. There you go, another brutal torching once more, as the Hellions now backing away. The metabolic boost has been completed. Zerglings trying to get a surround, and it looks like they will not be able to surround. Too much starburst flaming action coming from those Hellions, as it looks like the hatchery needs 1 more shot. Oh, the queen and the hatchery need 1 more shot, and there is a big victory for Thorzain here on Cloud Kingdom. We are now running on only 2 bases for Ret. Meanwhile, Thorzain getting up on 3. And now, I believe Thorzain is just going to sit back and relax. Thorzain is not a player that likes to make mistakes. He's not going to perhaps overexpand or overcommit to any real fight. He's just going to be controlling his opponent, and he knows that for at least another minute and a half, he's going to have an additional base mining, meaning more and more resources for him. This does turn out to be about 500 resources, I believe, 500 to 600 resources here, especially with those additional mules, those 5 mules now mining away. Hellions just dancing down here by the Xel'Naga Tower, not going to be able to do very much, as a sea of Zerglings now look to deal some damage at the third base here. Is it going to be able to do a lot? It looks like it will be able to, as the Zerglings going after some SCVs. And there you go. Slowly, these SCVs will get picked off. A group of Hellions now trying to make their way back to try and protect those very important workers. It looks as though we may see a couple supply depots getting taken down, as well as SCVs are getting caught in transit. All the Zerglings down over here have been cleaned up. The Zerglings, are they going to try to test that front door? No, that front door does have that garage opener. The supply depots are raised just in time, as the Zerglings are now backing off. Third hatchery still being established. Liquid Ret in a bit of trouble. He is behind in bases, and now behind in economy and behind in supply. We see 1 Raven in the air, and that Raven is going to clean up much of the creep tumors that have been placed down. So all these creep tumors getting destroyed in just a matter of seconds. As you see, an Overseer has joined in on the fight. Now, that Raven does have a point defense drone, and that is very important in order to shut down some of the harassment from the Queens. Meanwhile, Zerglings are now making their way inside here. How much damage has been dealt? A lot of workers killed by Ret has killed a lot of workers there. And now let's take a look at the harvest count. Is 50 to 65. Nicely done with that run by, as the Zerglings are going to get torched here once more. Whole bunch of dead SCVs. You can see supply depots are on fire, and Thorzain has to be a little bit cautious. He left this front door down, allowing a group of Zerglings to just simply get inside a bit too quickly. Now Thorzain is rallying, I believe, all of his command centers, yes, back to his natural. This is not a position that he wants to be in, but Thorzain also now transitioning into mech play. Thors very, very high in DPS, both against ground and against air, especially against air if you can get that splash damage off. The Thors also very, very strong tanks there, or tanking tanks, or I guess tanking Thors as opposed to tanking tanks, as the Thors are able to absorb a lot of damage coming in from those Ultralisks. Ultralisks, they're generally much better when they're fighting against units that are smaller, thereby dealing more splash damage, but the Thor, with its larger radius on the bottom, means that the Ultralisk at most is attacking 2 at a time, if not generally 1 Thor at a time. Infestors and Queens now making their way out here, and I am a bit surprised that Red is actually expanding into this location for his 4th base. This is more the typical choice of a 4th base, as you can't get harassed up on the high ground as much. True, you do end up expanding towards your opponent, but you already have so much creep there, and you already have a Zonaga tower. Here we go. Here's the Infestors. There's a Banshee coming in from the back. Infested Terran now coming in. Fungal growth, is it going down? That is the question. A whole bunch of infested Terrans coming in, and that may be a problem. Thorzain and Liquid Red, both sides battling it out. However, the Hellion should be able to deal a lot of damage here. The siege tanks have pretty much been destroyed. Pushed back here, as the Hellion's now backing off, and I saw a couple infestors with a lot of energy not taken down. That was a bit of a surprise there, as that Banshee flies straight into a Spore Crawler and now gets cleaned up. Level 3 weapons upgrade, level 2 vehicle upgrades, as this hatchery is not long for life. Siege tanks from the high ground will shell it down in just a moment, but not before Roaches now try to come back in. Roaches now just moving forward and trying to shut down all of these siege tanks, but I believe the siege tank line is too deep, and Liquid Red does say GG. I believe he just made 2 bad decisions in the last minute of the game, not getting down enough infested Terran to really halt this attack, and then attacking and moving straight into a group of siege tanks. These siege tanks are upgraded to 1, and he didn't even bother trying to expand over here instead. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed Game 2. EG's Thorzain was, in fact, able to even up the series at 1 game apiece, moving us into Game 3.